In my experience as a pastor, there's some things that I have personally observed people do when their sins get called out, when God sends someone into their path to address their sin. The first thing that I have noticed that people do is they get angry. They get angry that at the person that has pointed out their sin. They get angry that their sin has been brought to light. They may even use the word judgmental. You are being judgmental. Don't judge me. And so they just get angry. The second thing that I have seen people do is they begin to avoid. As their sins are addressed, as their sins are pointed out, they begin to avoid maybe the individual that pointed their sins out. They might begin to avoid anybody that's going to hold them accountable for their sin. They might even simply begin avoiding going to church altogether. They're going to avoid anything that is going to make them feel bad for their sin. But what we see happen with David, as Nathan goes to David to point out his sin, to address his sin, David doesn't get angry, and he doesn't begin to avoid. He simply admits his sin and repents of it. So let me just pause right here and say this. There are going to be times that you sin. There are going to be times that you give into temptation. That's part of the world that we live in. We live in a fallen and a broken, sinful world. And so even if you've given your life to Christ, there are still going to be those times, there are still going to be those moments that you sin. And so when God sends someone into your path to address your sin, let me encourage you, don't get angry. Don't begin to avoid. Instead, admit your sin and repent of it. David doesn't